Hello, my name's Steve. This is Austin, and we are again with Bookkeepers Directory USA.com, and we are here to help you with everything that has to do with bookkeeper marketing. And today we're going to talk about a subject that none of us like, and it's negative reviews. And what happens if you do get a negative review? Well, oftentimes people will, you'll be angry about it because you felt like you did a good job. The person put something terrible in there about you, so you want to lash out. That is definitely the wrong thing to do. I'm going to give it to you to Austin to kind of give you an idea how to handle this, and then I'll finish it up.
So a lot of people read the response to the review just to see how you handle criticism and maturity levels, trustworthiness, and all that. If you come off as defensive or emotional, customers will keep that in mind. That maybe you're not the most trustworthy person, even if it seems fake. Like you have to write like a PR response. I mean, that's just what you have to do in the business. Um, Studies consistently show that a business that responds well to negative review is often more trusted than one with only perfect reviews and no responses. So some tips: you never want to respond immediately. It's just give yourself a second to think about it, like a cool down response. Just don't respond when you're angry. Don't get defensive. Don't use some personal attack. You also shouldn't ignore it. Like you should respond to it at least in like a couple of days. Um, but just make sure you give a professional and responsible response. Like, people often say it's not the fact that you get knocked down; it's how you pick yourself back up. So just keep that in mind.
Well, that's pretty good, Austin. So I know if I were to get a negative, such as a one, it would definitely bother me. And everybody's first instinct is like, yeah, this person's wrong. But obviously, the most important part now is people watch how you handle it yourself at this point, because everybody at some point is going to get a bad review. If you do this job long enough, no matter what it is, there'll be somebody unhappy, and the unhappy ones leave reviews. So, um, my first tip, and this is for every review you get, to always respond to every review. So every single one you get, give a response to. And the negative ones, give it a little bit of time so that you're composed before you leave this review. But respond to every single one. Google loves that. They like the fact that you're paying attention, you're handling your things. When a customer says something, you are responding back. They're looking for that. So when you give them that, they love that. So the first thing to do when you get your negative one is to thank them for the review and thank them for the feedback. Right away, you're setting a tone of, okay, I'm a business person and you weren't happy, but I appreciate the fact that you let me know. Um, Surprisingly, too, that it almost helps diffuse the situation going forward. And, we've heard from time to time that sometimes these people even come back because the way people have handled these uh, response to reviews and realizing that, okay, it is a good business. They just, didn't satisfy me this time. Second part is acknowledge the concern. So I have one up here, and we just picked a random one. I didn't even really look at it, but sorry for the issues we discussed. Hope to regain your trust. Hope everything's been resolved satisfactorily. Acknowledge the fact that whatever it is that you did, customer wasn't happy, but you are going to do your best to make them happy. And even when people see it in there that, okay, I realize you didn't do that, but we're going to do everything we can now to make it better. That puts people at ease. They realize that, okay, it maybe wasn't how they wanted it up front, but now it is, that they're working on it. So that's to me that's a big deal. An example of something that would be positive. I'm sorry to hear your experience didn't meet your expectations. That's never something we want for our clients. And then go on to say, we are going to do this and this and this to make it better. When you're specific about what you're going to do, that also goes a long way, not only to the person that wasn't happy, but everybody else reading this. Part 3 of this is take responsibility and say that we are sorry. You know, we wanted you to be happy and you're not. It was a mistake on our part, and we're going to make it right. Don't over explain. Don't make up excuses. That's, nobody likes excuses. Whatever the reason, we were shorthanded today, whatever like that. That's not very good, as much as we own this. We should have, talked to you before we did this to, whatever the problem was. Just make it clear that you apologize. You are taking responsibility, and following that up, you're going to make it right. What are you going to do? Obviously you weren't happy with this, but we are going to do this to make it right. The exact, and put in, even that this is where you want to be. Put in some examples. We're going to do this to make this right. The things you weren't happy with are going to be corrected, and we're going to get it done right away. Our expense, and if you even want to put on there, we can even give you some kind of value the next time around, whatever it is. But this is where you're allowed to freelance a bit, and give them a specific. Obviously, don't give anything up about the customer, no personal things about them, but only about yourself and your business. And you want to close warmly, close on a positive note, make it professional, just like we've been the whole time. We genuinely care about you and all of our clients' experience, and we want the chance to turn this around for you, and we will also do that for anybody else in the future. Let them know who you are. Put your name on there, not just a business name. I would put Steve on this, and with my business name attached to it, and people, trust that a little more. And that definitely goes a long way towards taking a very, very bad situation of a 1 star into a situation that people say, hey, this business is trustworthy. I trust them. I like the response. Never ignore it. Never leave it there for everybody to read and not respond to it. That's a very common thing. It's one of those things that every one of us hates, but you have to deal with it when it comes up. And that's just the bottom line. And if you take responsibility, handle it professionally, that's all there is to it. If you were to come up with a fake review, so in other words, somebody gives you a 1 that you don't believe you ever worked with, and that does happen. Me and Austin have seen that happen with businesses we've worked with, where they got a 1 star with somebody that they had nothing to do with. You can, flag that with Google, and they may may remove it. It sometimes takes time. It doesn't always happen quickly, but an excellent thing to do there that I think gets the point across is, we appreciate your feedback. Like we talked about before, we want to make sure every concern is addressed. At this point in time, we're unable to locate your name in our records. Please reach out to me directly, and I'll look into it further. And that goes a long way towards showing people that, okay, this person probably left a fake bad review, and we've seen that plenty of times. All right, and the next thing that sometimes happens is the unreasonable, extremely exaggerated review. And these can be agonizing. Customers leave them for a variety of reasons, but again, don't argue your point. We talked about the 5 things to do, and just basically say, appreciate you sharing the story. Sorry for the experience. We want to make it right, and leave it at that. You'll find some people try to leave negatives to try to get something out of you, and that's just the way it is. You just have to deal with that as it comes up. So that's all I'm going to talk about on these negatives, but we'll talk to you tomorrow, and hopefully we'll have a nicer topic for you.